A stranger on horseback rides into a small town. Moving slowly along the main street, he feels dozens of eyes on him. Local residents look at him with undisguised curiosity and wariness. But strangers don't care. He continues on his way in silence until he finally stops and ties his horse to a post. A stranger walks into a local bar and orders a beer and a bottle of whiskey. The bartender rightly warns, the booze here isn't the best, but there's nothing else. When the bartender asks if he needs anything else, the stranger answers briefly. He just intends to drink in silence. But the silence does not last long. A group of men in the corner begin to mock the stranger. The stranger, without showing an iota of fear, takes the bottle and calmly throws it at them. He's faster than all of them. He then turns and walks away, leaving the mockers to keep an eye on him. Next stop is the hairdresser. A stranger orders a shave and a hot bath. Hearing the price, he takes off his coat and sits down on a chair. The hairdresser tries to start a conversation, but the stranger remains silent. While they were shaving, the same men from the bar burst into the barber shop. They again try to provoke him into talking, but he stubbornly ignores them. The ridicule became harsher, but the stranger remained indifferent. Everything changes in an instant when one of the bullies puts his hand on his shoulder. In the blink of an eye, the stranger grabs a hidden revolver and shoots all three. The hairdresser ran away in horror. The stranger calmly wipes his face with a towel and puts away his weapon. Residents of the city run to look at the bodies of the three dead. The stranger puts on his coat and hat and leaves the barber shop. A crowd is already waiting for him on the street. A man named Mordecai approaches him and asks his name. The stranger refuses to answer. Mordecai lights a cigar for him. Continuing on his way, the stranger meets a woman. She begins to scold him for staining her dress with a cigar. The stranger immediately picks up on her acting and directly asks why they needed to put on all this spectacle if they can just say whatever she wants. The woman, embarrassed by his insight, denies everything and begins to insult him. The stranger ignores her and tries to leave, but she blocks his way. Continuing the flow of rudeness, she is clearly trying to anger him. The stranger takes out a bottle of alcohol, takes a sip, and begins to respond in kind. This infuriates the woman. She slaps him, knocking the cigar out of his lips. Now the stranger is angry. He tells her it's time to learn some manners and drags her by the hand to the stables. The woman screams, trying to escape. Ignoring her screams, the stranger throws her onto a hay chute. Then violence happens. Mordecai becomes an unwitting witness to this scene. The stranger then leaves the stable. The townspeople are still looking at him. He heads to the hotel and asks for a room. "I need peace." "You must register, sir." When an employee asks if he will check in, the stranger simply takes the key and leaves without answering. In his room, he takes off his coat and hat. He sits on the bed and drinks alcohol. After a while, he lies down and puts the bottle on the table. And then a memory came flooding back to him. Memories of a brutal spanking. In the flashback, the man is covered in bloody wounds. Those around him methodically whip him, and he tries to defend himself with his hands. His strength leaves him and he falls to the ground. But the beating does not stop. More people are standing in front of him. They're just watching. The beaten man asks them for help, but no one moves. At this moment, the stranger wakes up in his room. A ray of sunlight enters through a small window. He gets up and opens the window. Putting on his hat, he leaves the room. He goes down to the counter and takes a cigarette from a cellar. When he asks if he will stay another night, the stranger promises to inform him later and leaves. "Good morning. I've never taken a hot bath." "Of course, sir. We will cook it now." The stranger returns to the barber shop. The hairdresser is shocked by his appearance, but the stranger reminds him of the bath he never took. The barber gives orders, and Mordecai prepares a bath for him. While the stranger is melting in hot water, the sheriff enters the barber shop and trims his beard. He pulls a chair up to the bathtub and says he wants to talk about the three dead men. The stranger replies that he doesn't care, but the sheriff continues. "I can't blame him. He didn't have an opinion. Essentially what you're saying is that I can easily get away with this." He explains that no charges will be brought. All is forgiven. At this moment, yesterday's woman Kelly bursts into the hairdresser with a revolver in her hands and begins to shoot at the stranger, shouting profanities. The stranger dives underwater, but Kelly continues to shoot. The sheriff tries to restrain her, and Mordecai dumps a bucket of water on them, allowing the sheriff to draw his weapon and pull her out. After they leave, Mordecai approaches Vanya to check on the stranger. He comes out unharmed. He wonders why it took her so long to get angry. Mordecai suggests that she is angry not because of what happened, but because he did not come for more. Meanwhile, a group of men meet elsewhere. 3 gangsters, Stacy Bridges and the Carlin brothers, are being released from prison today. The townspeople are frightened and discuss how to stop them from returning to the city. The 3 who were killed by the stranger were professional snipers hired by the city authorities to provide security. Now they are dead, and the city is left defenseless. Someone suggests hiring a mysterious alien. We need to know something from you. He pulled a pistol from under his coat. I think we're asking for trouble. Although these 3 did not survive. But opinions are divided. Some take risks, others are afraid. After all, nothing is known about him. At this point, Kelly bursts into the building, sobbing and screaming. The men come out to see what happened. Morgan tries to hold her back while she tries to attack the sheriff. Having learned about what happened, no one comes to her defense. Morgan even tells her that the stranger is used to getting his way, so it's best not to resist unless he goes too far. Kelly is furious. She asks what could be worse than what has already happened. Morgan replies that there is too much at stake and that she should remain silent. All the men agree and go back inside as she continues to shout after them. The sheriff is looking for a stranger at lunch. He invites him to become a city shooter. The stranger refuses. He's not a mercenary. Moreover, he has nothing to do with the 3 bandits traveling to the city. The sheriff explains that these 3 are real bandits. They caused so much trouble that the sheriff himself put them behind bars. While they're talking, the waitress brings out a pie. The stranger looks at her and instantly gets up to leave without saying a word. The sheriff follows him. On the street, he reveals that Stacy and his cousins stole a gold bar from the mine and hid it under the shack where they lived. The stranger notes that this was careless on their part. He wonders why the mine left the gold bar in plain sight, implying that the townspeople were setting them up to arrest them. The sheriff admits that Stacy keeps talking about it in court, and that's why all 3 of them hate the city so much. The stranger stops and remarks to the sheriff that when the bandits arrive, he will simply have to arrest them again. But the sheriff knows that this is impossible. He tries to explain that he is actually a robber. The sheriff's got it only because the marshal was killed, but despite all the pleas, the stranger refuses to help the city. Instead, he advises the sheriff to arm himself and place men on the rooftops. He then said that he heard about a bald blacksmith who is an excellent shot. The sheriff confirms this and thanks for the help. Later, residents gather for a rally. The sheriff tells them that a stranger gave him a tip. One man calls him crazy, but Dave points out that the stranger knows what he's doing. He killed 3 mercenaries in seconds. Then one of the men asks the question, what if the bandits don't come at all? They just sit in prison for 7 years, and now that they've been released, they can go wherever they want. People are starting to wonder if they need to prepare at all. The sheriff objects. Stacy will definitely return for the hidden gold. For the sake of this gold, he and his cousins are ready to do anything. Dave agrees with the sheriff. He offers to hire a stranger and pay him $500 for each bandit, as well as provide him with everything necessary for the city. Although people are afraid, they agree to this proposal. The sheriff follows the stranger and reports the news. He asks who will answer. The sheriff replies that it is himself. The stranger objects. He needs another one. He chooses Mordecai, a local dwarf. This shocks Mordecai, but the stranger insists. Gives him a mayor's badge and a cigar. The stranger then announces that the town needs a new name. Everyone is surprised and begins to offer different options. Among all the names, the stranger chooses one, Hell. He orders the old sign of the city to be painted over and a new name to be written. This confuses everyone. The stranger then orders the people to take a blanket, sheets, and everything they need for a picnic because they're going to leave the city. Some argue, why leave the city if they're going to save it? The stranger explains that when the bandits come, the city should look empty. This will mislead them and give them an advantage. The next day, a stranger takes everyone to the outskirts of the city for training. He hands out guns and starts teaching people how to shoot. Most of them had never held a revolver in their hands. The stranger puts everyone in their place. When everyone is seated, the exercise begins. A cart with 2 mannequins moves down the street, and the townspeople have to shoot at them. They fly everywhere. The owner of the cart came running in a rage. He did not allow his cart to be dismantled. The stranger taunts him, pulls out a revolver, and destroys both mannequins with one precise shot. Then the stranger goes to the carpenters and asks them to make a huge table for many people. The carpenters agree. The stranger leads them to the barn to get wood. The owner of the barn runs up in panic and asks what is happening. The stranger calmly answers. He needs it. He will also need 35 leaves, a roasted ox, and 200 gallons of red paint. Red paint? We're counting on you to get the sheet, so that everyone can leave. How long will it take? I can't. Where will it go? Somewhere. Meanwhile, Stacy and his cousins ambush a group of men in the woods and kill two. One tries to escape, but is overtaken and killed. While Stacy, looks like we have 3 great horses now. His clothes are fashionable. Having taken the horses from the dead, the bandits went to the city. The city continues to practice shooting at dummies on a cart. Hotel owner Lewis and Morgan go to Dave and say that maybe they don't need outside help. Dave realizes that they are trying to get rid of the stranger. Lewis calls it a mockery of the city. He made a no mayor, forced women to sew sheets, and now he's planning a picnic. It's all a disaster. And Stacy and his cousins might not come at all. Dave insists we have to wait at least another day. Morgan disagrees. Dave asks if it's personal. They start arguing. During the quarrel, the topic of the marshal's murder arose, and Lewis must intervene to defuse the situation. Dave tries to convince them to stay together. Morgan leaves the office in a rage. From the outside, hotel guests face the street. The stranger seeks to be alone. The preacher asks what's wrong, and Lewis explains the situation. Mordecai sarcastically suggests that Lewis talk to the stranger himself. This makes Lewis angry, and the preacher turns to the stranger and declares that throwing them all out is inhumane. The stranger answers, "The preacher cares so much about people, let him shelter them." The preacher turns to the crowd and announces that he will find them housing. A stranger orders dinner and the best wine in town, after which he retires to his room. At this moment, Mordecai experiences a flashback. In the memories, he hides under the porch while someone is being beaten in this very city. All the townspeople are hiding. They don't want to interfere. It turns out it's Marshall. Nobody tries to help him. Only the waitress tries to stop the beating. But her husband stops her. After beating Marshall, the bandits leave him to die. The stranger follows Kelly. She begins to insult him, asking what he needs. He replies, "Company for the night." He then continues to kiss her, quietly taking the revolver from her hands. Kelly kisses back. He then asks to give her an hour and a half to prepare for dinner. He returns the weapon to her and promises to wait. She later shows up at his hotel for dinner. They are served by waitress Sarah, who is clearly irritated by their proximity. Meanwhile, Stacy and his cousins are stranded in the desert. Cole's horse was wounded. He handed it over to his brother, and they continue on their way. Stacy warns that as soon as anyone finds the bodies, they will be hunted. We must act quickly. They keep jumping. You walk alone until late, Snot. A stranger took my place at the hotel. Just look at us, my God. Because of this stranger, we are ready to grab our friend by the throat. Kelly and the stranger spend the night at a hotel. After making sure he's asleep, Kelly quietly gets up and starts getting dressed. At the same time, a group of men from the city creep up the stairs to attack the stranger. They burst into the room and begin beating the man lying in the bed. But they don't know that the stranger has already left the room. The moment he jumps out of the hotel, the entire building explodes, killing his attackers. Those who try to escape are shot at by the stranger waiting for them below. Morgan rushes towards a horse. Kelly begs him to take her with him, but he refuses and runs away. Kelly runs away. Lewis and other church members rush to the hotel to see what happened. Lewis finds his hotel destroyed. Dave approaches the stranger and apologizes for the actions of Morgan and the others. The stranger again refuses to trust them, and Dave offers $3,000. The stranger turns to the hotel, and Sarah tells him that all the rooms have been destroyed except hers and Lewis's. The stranger drags her into the room. Sarah screams, demanding to be let go. He leaves her alone in the room and tries to sleep. Sarah approaches his bed with scissors in hand, but he calms her down. He then kisses her, and she kisses him back. They spend the night together. In the morning, she tells him about Marshall, but he pretends he doesn't care. Outside, townspeople bury the dead. The stranger orders everyone to paint the city red. He also writes the word hell above the city's old name. Lewis returns to the hotel. He begins to argue with Sarah, and she accuses them of covering up the murder. Lewis reminds her that Marshall discovered the mine was on government land and was planning to surrender it. However, Sarah declares that she is leaving town and will never return. Outside town, an injured Morgan runs into Stacy and his cousins. Seeing them, Morgan asks for help. Stacy refuses, but Morgan says that everything has changed in the city and they need his help. Stacy demands Morgan give him the code to the safe in his office. Morgan refuses, and Stacy kills him. At this moment, someone places dynamite on top of the stone. The three men start shooting, exploding the rock. Then the attack occurs. The stranger shoots and wounds Cole in the ear, after which he manages to escape. An enraged Stacy shouts after him that she's going to kill him. "I'll kill him. I'll kill whoever he is. I will kill everyone in the lag." Now the city is completely painted red. A stranger goes to a bar and starts drinking. The sheriff calls him and says it's time to prepare for an attack. The stranger comes out and inspects the positions. Then the stranger gets on his horse and leaves the city. As soon as Stacy and his cousins enter the city, they start shooting everything up. Townspeople are trying to fight back, but they cannot keep up with the bandits. Soon the bandits take over the city. They gather everyone at the bar and start drinking. At that moment, the stranger returns, drags out Cole's brother, Dan, and begins to whip him before killing him. He then throws the whip at the bar. Stacy orders everyone out. Outside, someone throws dynamite and everyone hides. But it turns out that this is fake. As Cole walks down the street, a noose falls from above and strangles him. He's dying. Stacy, left alone, starts shooting at random. A stranger appears from the darkness and kills him. Lewis ran out with a gun to shoot the stranger, but Mordecai shoots him in the back. Next day, the stranger leaves the city on horseback in front of all the residents. Mordecai carving a coffin for the marshal's grave makes him stand out. He reminds the stranger that he never knew his name. The stranger simply replies that Mordecai knows his name, and he leaves, leaving everything behind.